everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in this video I'm going to be going through all of the books on my physical TBR, so all of the books that I own but have not read yet, and clearly there is a lot of them. I just counted them and I think it's like 140 something out of like the 250-ish books I own, and these are all the books that are like actually on my TBR. Like I have one shelf here with books that I own, but like I'm not gonna read them because they're just like travel books that I just have like on display that my dad gave me. And then I have books in this shelf back here, which are either books that I want to unhaul or books that I don't really want to read, so I'm not going to be including those. But all of the other books around me are actually books that I want to read, and I tried organizing it by like genre, but eventually I just gave up because there was just a lot and it was really hard to make these piles like organized by genre. So I'm just gonna pick and choose random books and quickly share them with you. I'm not really gonna go into plot or description or anything like that because A, there's a lot of books to get through and I don't want this video to be like 2 hours long, and B, I don't really know what most of these books are about, and if I do try to explain them, then again we're gonna be here for like ages and ages, and I just want to quickly get through these like 140 books because there's a lot. So I'm just gonna grab, this is the first book that I see here. So this is As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow. I recently bought this one because I've seen it all over Instagram, so I'm really excited to get to this one. And then I have Deaf Utopia by Niall DeMarco. He is a very prominent deaf activist and actor, and I'm really interested to read this one because I just want to learn more about the deaf community. And then I have Somebody's Daughter by Ashley C. Ford. True Biz by Sarah Novick is another book about the deaf community, and it is written by a deaf author. I don't have the dust jacket for this one because I didn't like how it looked on my shelf, but this is The Final Revival of Opal and Nev by Donnie Walton. Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. I've seen this all over Instagram and I think I'm really going to enjoy this one, but I just keep putting it off for some reason. The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. This one also doesn't have a dust jacket because I didn't like how it looked on my shelf, but this is Cleopatra and Frankenstein by Coco Malors. Film for Her by Orion Carlotto. Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner. I keep putting this one off because I feel like it's going to make me sob my eyes out. Writers and Lovers by Lily King. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I've heard so many good things about this one, so I can't wait to get around to reading it. Severance by Ling Ma. Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake, and I'm so happy that I have the self-published edition because the traditionally published cover is kind of hideous. Another book without the dust jacket, but this is Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid. Valley of the Dolls by Jacqueline Susan, and I love the hot pink sprayed edges. Like, look how cute that is. The Unabridged Journals of Sylvia Plath. Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. Acts of Desperation by Megan Nolan. I love this cover. I just think it's so cool. And then I have Ghosts by Dolly Alderton, another cover that I just love. Like the pink bouquet, it's just so pretty. And now I'm gonna go into the books that are on this stack. It's also not organized by like any genre or anything. So first up I have Pure Nessie by Susanna Clark. Yoke by Mary H.K. Choi. I love this cover and how the two hands here connect. Like, it's such an amazing cover design. I really love it. Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. Funny You Should Ask by Elisa Sussman, and I love this cover, like the pink and the red and just the design of it. Like, it's such a different cover for a romance book. I love it so much. I Kissed Shara Wheeler by Casey McQuiston. The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. Sweet Cute by Emma Lord. My Body by Emily Ratajkowski, and I have started reading this one like a while ago, but I just wasn't in the mood for nonfiction, so I put it down, but I'm really excited to get back into this one at some point. Pachinko by Min Jin Lee. Is Everyone Hanging Out Without Me by Mindy Kaling. I bought this one at a thrift store for like $2. I didn't even know that she had written a book, and I think this was published in like 2013 or something, but when I saw that it was by Mindy Kaling, I had to buy it because I just love her. And then I have the entire, is this the entire? Yes. The entire Heroes of Olympus series by Rick Riordan, The Lost Hero, The Son of Neptune, The Mark of Athena, House of Hades, and then The Blood of Olympus. And I have started reading The Lost Hero like a couple of months ago. I still have a bookmark in it and everything, but I just really wasn't vibing with it. I don't know why. I really couldn't get into it, but I do really want to read this series because everyone's been saying that I need to read it, so I will be revisiting it at some point. Literally everyone's been saying that I need to read this series, so I have all 5 books to binge them once I do eventually get back into them. And then I just have a couple of more Rick Riordan books. So I have The Daughter of the Deep, which is his newest release, and then I have books 2 and 3, no, books 1 and 2 of the Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard series because I thrifted them and they're like $2 each. So I figured why not buy them, because I do eventually want to make my way through Rick Riordan's backlist. So I have the first 2 books in that series. So the next stack that I have here is my tallest and also most precarious stack, but these are all of my unread fantasies and thrillers. So at the top here, oh, and sci-fi apparently, I have The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. And then I have the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson, The Final Empire, The Wall of Ascension, and The Hero of Ages. I'm very intimidated by these books because they are massive and I haven't really read a adult high fantasy in a hot minute, so it's gonna take me a while to get into these, but I am really excited to eventually read them and buddy read them with my friend Megan. And then I have The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reed, and then I have Jade City by Fonda Lee. I am so excited to get into this one because it just sounds so interesting, but I just keep putting it off because, again, I am very intimidated by adult high fantasy, but I will be getting to this one at some point. The Savage Song by Victoria Schwab, Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Su Lin Tan, and look at this cover. Like, I am obsessed with this cover. Like, the design and all of the colors are just so pretty. The Prior of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This book is massive. This is like 800 pages. So I obviously have not read it yet because that is very intimidating, and I've also heard mixed things on this one, so I'm also kind of nervous to get into it because of that, but I have it for when I feel like reading an 800-page adult high fantasy. I also have books 2 and 3 in the Folk of the Air trilogy by Holly Black. I have The Wicked King and The Queen of Nothing. I read The Cruel Prince a couple of months ago. Well, I listened to it on audio because I just wasn't able to get into the story by reading it physically, and then I tried reading, I think it's The Wicked King, whatever the second book is. I tried reading it, but I just couldn't get into it, so I might have to read this entire series on audio, but I have the other 2 books when I feel like finishing this series. I also have We Hunt the Flame and An Ember in the Ashes. I am so excited to read these 2 series, but I just keep putting them off because I don't feel like committing to a 4-book series or a duology at the moment. It's only a duology. I don't know why I can't just read it, but yeah, I'm also a little bit intimidated by them because I haven't been reading that much fantasy, but I am really excited to read these 2. Like, these are like at the top of my priority list for fantasy. The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang, the second book in the Poppy War series, and I have not read this one yet because I don't remember anything that happened in the first book, and also it's just like a lot like a lot goes on in these books. There's a lot to like remember, and it's just kind of heavy at times. King of Scars and Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo. I don't know if I'm going to be reading these anytime soon because I've just heard so many mixed, more so negative things about this duology. I'm interested to see Nikolai's story and see more of like Zoya and all of those characters from Shadow and Bone, but I've heard that she ruins Nina's character in these books, and I love Nina so much, so I'm kind of scared to see what she does to her characters, so I'm not really like itching to read these anytime soon because of that. I also have Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I don't know why I haven't read this one yet, but I am going to her book tour in January for the second book of this series, so I should probably read it before January. And then I have two mysteries. So I have Arsenic and Adobo and Little Fires Everywhere. I've been wanting to watch the TV show for Little Fires Everywhere, but I want to read the book first. But I think at this point I'm just gonna watch the TV show because I've had this on my TBR for like 3 years at this point and I have not read it yet, but we'll see if I do eventually read it before watching the show. And then I have Caraval by Stephanie Garber, The Maidens by Alex Michaelides, and I've heard so many mixed / bad things about this book, so I don't know how I'm going to feel about it. Another book that I've heard mixed things about is Book of Night by Holly Black. I've heard that it's just not as good as her YA series, but I'm interested to see how she does with an adult series, and it revolves around like shadow magic, which sounds really interesting, but I might have to get this one on audio because I something about Holly Black's writing I just can't really get into when I'm reading it physically for some reason. Foul Lady Fortune by Chloe Gong is one of my most anticipated releases for this year, and I just haven't really been in like the fantasy mood, so that's why I haven't picked it up yet, but I am interested to see how this spin-off compares to the original duology. And it is signed by Miss Chloe Gong herself, which is really exciting. So now we have 3 more piles to get through. So at the top, I have a couple of books that I got at the book fair recently. So let me just grab these. Okay, so I have The Story of Jane, the Legendary Underground Feminist Abortion Service. When I saw the title and just the cover of this one, I thought it sounded so interesting, and I had no idea that this was a thing, so I'm really excited to read more about it because I feel very passionately about abortion rights, so I think this is going to be a really interesting read. And then I have The Lying Life of Adults by Elena Ferrante. Elena Ferrante in general, just an author that's really like interesting to me because no one knows who she is and she writes under like a pseudonym, so I'm really interested to see what her books are like because they are also translated from Italian. So I've heard really good things about this one. I know Kate Literature read it somewhat recently, I think, and she really enjoyed it. So I have these 2 books that I got at the book fair, and then I have 2 poetry collections. So first I have Why I Wake Early by Mary Oliver. I recently bought another collection of poetry by Mary Oliver, which is Devotions. So when I saw that they had this poetry collection by her for only $1, I obviously had to buy it. So I have 2 Mary Oliver poetry collections to add to my collection, and I'm really interested to get into more poetry and start with Mary Oliver because I've heard really good things about her poetry. Another poetry collection that I got at the book fair is Queer Poets of Color, and I'm so happy about this find because I found it kind of last minute. I was just looking around at the poetry table and I was like, wait, I've been wanting to get this for so long, so I obviously had to buy it, and it is autographed by, I believe, by Christopher Soto, who's the one that edited this poetry collection. Let me see. I think he's the one that signed it. I'm really excited to get to this one because I know that Chloe Bunny has read it like kind of recently and she really enjoyed it, and I just want to get into more poetry, and I've been wanting to read stuff by Ocean Vuong, and he has a poem in here, so I am really excited to slowly make my way through this anthology. Next up, I have 2 books by Carmen Maria Machado. I have Her Body and Other Parties, which I have started reading, but I got to page 65 and I saw that this one was about like Law and Order SVU, and I was like, I do not really want to read like a super long story about Law and Order, so I just put it down, but I will revisit this one at some point. And the other book is In the Dream House, and my friend Megan from Books with Meg actually got this for me from my Amazon wish list, and she put a gift note that says Merry Xmas bitch. It's literally November, but it's okay because I've been wanting to read this one for a really long time, and I finally have a copy of it. The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh is a book that I've compared to the originals, which is the Vampire Diaries spin-off, which I love the originals. So when I read that this one kind of has like the originals vibes, I got really excited because it takes place in New Orleans in the 1800s, and there's like vampires and witches, so I'm really interested to see what this one's all about. Big Little Lies by Leanne Moriarty is a book that I actually did not know was a book when I watched the adaptation for it. I watched the TV show, and it is so good. So when I found out that it was actually a book, I was like, oh, interesting. So I decided to buy it, and I don't know if I'm going to read it because I already watched the show and I really enjoyed the show, but maybe I will read it eventually and see how it compares to the TV show. This is actually a book that I got in Austin as a blind date with a book, so when I bought it I didn't know what it was gonna be, but when I opened it I saw that it was Among the Beasts and Briars, and I don't really know what it's about, obviously, because it was a blind book, but I'm really interested to give this one a try and see what it's all about because I honestly have not heard anything about this book. And then I have The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X.R. Pan. And then I have the entirety of the Raven Boys series by Maggie Stiefvater. I have the Raven Boys, the Dream Thieves, Blue Lily, Lily Blue, and the Raven King. I bought these used on Depop for like 20 bucks, so I was like, why not? It's only $20 for all 4 books in the series, which is not that bad of a deal, so I bought all of them. I don't even know if I'm gonna like this series, and I have all 4 books, so we'll see how it goes once I do eventually read this one, because if I don't like it, then I'm just gonna have to get rid of the other 3 books. So yeah, I don't know why I did that. Legends and Lattes is a book that I've heard so many good things about, and I am really excited to get to this one. Like, I think I might read this soon, to be honest, because it just seems like the perfect cozy like fall/winter vibes, and it takes place in like a coffee shop, and I've just heard that's really cute and wholesome, so I'm definitely going to be reading this one soon. Ariadne by Jennifer Saint is another book that I want to read really soon because I've just heard so many good things about it, and I feel like I'm really going to love this one. And then I have The Diviners by Libba Bray, and then I have a couple of middle grade books. So I have Nevermore, The Trials of Morrigan Crow, Ava Evergreen, The Semi-Magical Witch, Pages & Co., The Book Wanderers, Amari and the Night Brothers, and The Girl Who Drank the Moon. I also have Scythe by Neil Shusterman. And then I have the 2 books in the Kyoshi novels duology, The Rise of Kyoshi and The Shadow of Kyoshi. I actually have started reading The Rise of Kyoshi, but I just wasn't like in the mood for it at the time, but I will be revisiting it eventually because I love Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like, I've seen that show like 4 or 5 times. It's one of my comfort shows. I hope that I really love this series because I just want more Avatar: The Last Airbender content. So I have these 2 books. And the last book I have in that pile is A Magic Steeped in Poison, another cover that is just so beautiful. Like, look at all of the bright and colorful colors, and just the illustration is just so beautiful. And the magic system in this one revolves around tea, which I think is so interesting, so I can't wait to see what this one's about. So second to last stack, I just have a lot of manga here. So I have Spy Family Volume 8. This is my all-time favorite manga series, and this is the newest volume, and I don't know why I haven't read it yet, honestly, because I've been so excited for it to come out and I just have not read it yet, but I love this series so much. I also have Orange Volume 1. I also have Death Note, the Black Edition Volume 1. I don't know why I have this one, to be honest, because I've tried watching the anime like 3 times, and I just haven't really been able to get into the story, even though it sounds so interesting and I feel like it would really be up my alley, but I just haven't been able to connect with it for some reason. But maybe I'll have better luck with the manga. And then I have my prized possessions. I have Yona of the Dawn. I can't really read any of these volumes anytime soon because I'm currently on volume 12. And I have volumes 23, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 34, 35, and 36. So I can't read these anytime soon. But when I do eventually get around to volume 23, I'll be able to read them physically, which I'm really excited about. And I just love this series so much. Like, this is another one of my all-time favorite manga series. It's just so good. Like, I love all of the characters, and like the slow burn romance is so good. So I love this series so much, and I'm trying to collect all of the volumes, but a lot of them are out of stock right now. But yeah, I have the later volumes in the series that I can't really read anytime soon. And then next up, I just have a bunch of YA books. So I have Loveless by Alice Oseman, The Chosen and the Beautiful by Ni Vo, Monday's Not Coming and Grown, both by Tiffany D. Jackson, Bone Crier's Moon by Catherine Purdy, She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. And then I have some books I got at the book fair that are actually signed by the authors. So I have Breathe and Count Back from 10 by Natalia Sylvester, and it is signed on the inside. And then I have two books by Kat Cho. I have Wicked Fox, which is also signed, and she gave me a little like postcard print type of thing, but it is signed. And then I have Once Upon a K-Prom, also by Kat Cho, which she put some photo cards inside them, which I think is so cute that they like made photo cards for this book. But it is signed, and she put a cute little stamp. And then I have I Guess I Live Here Now by Claire On, which is also signed, and she gave me a little bookmark with it. And then I have Aristotle and Dante Dive into the Waters of the World by Benjamin Alire Sons. Last stack over here at the top, I have some graphic novels. So I have Sheets by Brenna Thumler, and then I have Paper Girls volumes 1 through 4, which I love these covers and I love the art style. Like, it just looks so fun and bright and colorful. And I've heard that there is an Amazon Prime adaptation for this, but it actually got canceled, so that is very devastating. But I have 4 volumes of the graphic novels. And then I think the rest of the books in this stack are classics. So I have this honestly kind of hideous edition of Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I don't like this edition just because it is so giant. Like, it's not the same size as like a regular paperback. Like, I just hate how tall it is and how like wide it is. I don't know. I don't really like this edition, but I have it. And then I have The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin, The Maltese Falcon by Dashiell Hammett, Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. And then I have some Shakespeare works. So these are all in the Barnes & Noble Shakespeare editions. So I have Julius Caesar, Othello, Much Ado About Nothing, and The Tempest. And then I have all of Jane Austen's works, and these are in the Wordsworth Classics. So I have Lady Susan and Other Works, Persuasion, Mansfield Park, Northanger Abbey, Emma, Sense and Sensibility, and Pride and Prejudice, which I have started reading, but I wasn't in the mood for classics. Like, it was just too much work, so I put it down, but I will be revisiting it at some point. And then I have a couple of Penguin English Library edition classics, which I really love these editions. So I have North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell, Dracula by Bram Stoker, and Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. And finally, the last 4 books on my physical TBR are some Penguin classics, like the Black Spine ones. So I have Letters to a Young Poet by Rainer Maria Rilke. This book is so tiny. I think it's like it's like 84 pages, but I'm really excited to read this one. And then I have The Crucible by Arthur Miller, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, and Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. So those are all of the books on my physical TBR. I am literally surrounded by books right now. Like, there are books everywhere, so reorganizing them is gonna be very interesting. But yeah, I hope this video was somewhat interesting in seeing what books I have on my physical TBR. Let me know in the comments down below how many books you have on your physical TBR, because I'm just really interested to see how many books people buy in comparison to how many they read, because I know that I tend to buy more books than I do read them. Like, book buying and book reading are two completely different hobbies, and I partake in both of them, but I definitely buy more books than I actually read. But I do want to make my way through my physical TBR next year. Like, I want to do some reading challenges, like reading the longest books on my TBR or the shortest books, or reading some fantasies, just to maybe bring the number down to like hopefully under 100, because like 140 books that I've bought and haven't read is kind of ridiculous. Like, when I think about it, I don't want to think about it, because that's kind of absurd. So yeah, I have a lot of organizing to do right now, but I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.